Welcome back. This week, Monty and I, we have survived our Reaper Pepper challenge that we had sort of briefly had talked about a little bit. That's still in post-production as we go through there. But I think there was some interesting things and some interesting finds as we had walked through that Reaper Pepper challenge. Monty had said right before we went that we need to bring in a third person because I don't think we'll be able to talk.
We were right.
Yeah. The original concept of it was, let's try to get through a podcast with eating the Reapers, and I said, yeah, sure, that'll be absolutely no problem. And as you'll see, how wrong, how wrong, at least on my end.
I couldn't have
really
carried.
was.
I couldn't have carried on a conversation. Not intelligent.
Yeah, not only not intelligent, but it just shut down my brain completely. And so you're just standing there numb. So
the good news is, and here's the revelation: we are alive, though.
Yeah,
we lived through it. That's a positive thing. And I'm hearing from everybody they can't wait to see this thing. They can't wait to see it.
Yeah. There's some footage that. We're trying to figure out how to get it all together, I think.
Well, I think part of it, the trick of it is we don't want to show, gross stuff. You're going to understand what's going on when you see it and hear it, but we don't want to get too messy.
Yeah, I think there's that balance there.
Yeah.
So I think we're trying to work all that out in post review, and I know there's people out there that say, just let it go.
They don't really want to do that.
I don't really want to do that.
They don't want to see all of that.
Hopefully here in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to get that out and released.
The funny part was, I think the funniest parts of the Reaper Challenge was not how miserable we were, but how miserable the people across the street at that sale were. Those people. Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't seen anything on the internet pop up of that yet.
Yeah. I don't know how much more farther we want to get into this because I think we both said let's not give it all away.
We want to tease the audience.
It's definitely, there was a unexpected audience there that day that and all the years where we shot this, I can't believe that went down that day. I mean, seriously, of all the times that we could have picked something, we picked that day for this to go down.
It was crazy.
And you'll see what we're talking about when we release that, how it really kind of, it made the level go up by 20. But I'll say this, though. I've had a tough time, even though we have survived. I've always been kind of a hot guy, hot food stuff and jalapenos and stuff like that.
Oh, you're a hot guy.
Yeah, right. It came out of my mouth. I'm like, I better clarify because I'm not a hot guy. It's just a hot food, spicy guy.
Yep.
I had kind of skipped it for a week and a half, and I was like, I went and I grabbed some jalapenos, and I was like,
jalapenos, yeah.
Like I wanted just like a jalapeno coleslaw. I had some ribs the other day, and I was like, it'd be nice to have a little. And I'm like, no.
That's like baby hotness.
Yeah, I know it's baby hotness, but I'm like, it's a little too soon. It's kind of, I got to give it a little bit more time. I'm like, I probably pushed that one a little far.
I think the worst thing was, and we'll go into this in detail on the actual episode, but was the taste of the pepper. I didn't like the taste of the pepper. It's not the fact that it was miserably hot, but it didn't taste good. I'm thinking, what purpose does this pepper actually have in society as in a menu item?
I don't think it does. I think all of those things have just set sail. And I think when you talk about capsaicin in general, I was even looking at this on, all basically the hotness level, and they're getting to the point where they're basically concentrating this capsaicin where you can put it down in liquid. And the levels are anywhere from 8 to 15 million on this concentrated stuff.
That's death.
And I'm going, I don't even know what you would do with something like that.
2.1 million was it for me. That was it. I'm not going any hotter than that ever. I don't think.
Well, yeah, that and that was the Reaper was at 2.1 million.
Yeah.
And they're talking. There is actually, I think, a couple peppers that are even hotter than that. that I found on the internet, and really the one that kind of trumped everything was this liquid pure capsaicin.
Yeah.
And I guess it's suppose how you boil it down and refine
you
it.
dilute it in alcohol and all the. My son has got this plan to do this with the Reaper peppers. He's got about 10 more Reaper peppers sitting up there outside.
So I don't know how you get to the 8 to 15 million part, but there's people out there that are doing it.
The lesson is, if Miles asks you to taste something, don't do it. It will kill you.
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Hey, you got a cool new pickup truck.
I did.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
I picked up a new Ford F-150, and just so we're clear, we're not sponsored by these guys or anything like that.
We could be, but
yeah, I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. But definitely didn't get any sponsorship money. So everything that you're hearing, at least from us, really has to do with more of the electric gas car stuff. And we kind of talked about this last time, and I didn't expect to buy a new truck. And I had an old Ford F-150, and as you hear, everybody out there is getting the best value or top dollar, if you will, for your used car. And I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. The guy had ordered a truck that, for whatever reason, the deal fell through. And one of the few times that I was in the right place at the right time, and they said, "Hey, we'll trade you truck for truck.
Wow,
are you interested?" And when we walked out of here last time, we were talking, I think, about the Ford Lightning, and I up until this point, I'd never even driven an electric car in my life, and I really didn't even know anything about this Ford F-150, which is the hybrid.
Now, is it a plug-in hybrid? Can you plug it in to charge it up? Or?
No.
Okay.
It's still half gas, half electric, and when I say the half gas, if you're a car guy, don't hold me to this, but at some point there is basically, I think if it's under 20 miles an hour, and I still don't know all this, right? If it's under 20 miles an hour, it pretty much runs off electric, and everything over 20 kicks in the gas.
And it uses the electric as a booster at that point, kind of like a turbo or something like that.
Something like that. So to your point, why I don't have to plug it in is when I'm up above 20, the gas recharges it, which I actually think is nice because I think it's one of those things that I don't want to have to go around and mess around with plugging in my car. And to be honest with you, I really think the hybrid stuff is the way to go. And I can tell you this much, I am utterly amazed from the electric ability of what this car can do from a truck side of it. And I think, a lot of times when we had talked about this, everything gets so overly politicized. And I think, it's not a left or right question, but I think that's what they've turned it into is, we can't let the left win, we can't let the right win. And,
the right-wingers are like, electric cars, they're junk.
I don't even, and maybe that was the case for a while. Again, I wasn't a big electric car guy, but I've never really driven one. I never really had the opportunity, and as they've become more prolific, obviously with Tesla and everything else, and certainly the quality has gotten there, it is pretty damn amazing.
What kind of mileage are you getting?
Well, it's sort of funny. So if you're under the 20, right, the electric side kicks in, and it kind of takes it away, right? So there is no, obviously, gas mileage to the electric, so it doesn't tell you. But then when I get over that, then my gas mileage kicks in, and it says anywhere from probably about 12 to 15. So I think what they do is they take a little bit of the electric side, and then a little bit of the power side, and they push them together. So I would say this, at least from what I've seen just driving around town on highway, you're from the gas side of things, I think you're equal mileage.
Okay.
Gas to gas. Now you throw in the electric, I think that really kind of comes down to, how much is the truck or what type of driving are you using to stretch out that extra 15?
Well, those hybrids are typically much better in the city than they are on the highway.
Right, and I can see that. If you're not really above, if you're in a lot of inner city traffic and stuff like that, running more on electric, probably get a little more gas mileage out of it. So at least what I'm seeing on a lot of things right now is the fact that they claim 26. I'm probably really around realistically about 15.
26 would be fantastic for an F-150. I mean, that's amazing. So the reason I brought this up is the Biden administration is pushing economy regulations by 2026, 52 miles per gallon is what and I don't know exactly how it's figured out. That's, on average for all of the cars by a car company and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I hate crap like that because here's what happens, and here's what's happened up until this point. is you really not, these car companies aren't focused on really getting extra gas mileage out of them. What they're focused on is making the cars lighter. And as they put more plastic in it, and as you get more away from, those cafe standards, you look at the cars back, 70s and 80s, you had good heavy steel cars. You also look at what the death rates were, in car accidents. They've skyrocketed because of this. And car companies really haven't put a lot of focus into, quite frankly, getting better gas mileage out of it as much as they focused into let's make the car lighter, because that's the way they've dealt with it.
Well, Ford has done something different than most, and they've gone to an all aluminum body and frame, and it's really my dad has an F-150. It's all aluminum, and amazing ride. I mean, it's lighter than the old F-150s, and yeah, it's a quality vehicle, I think. So,
well, I think one of the things I think you got to get into your head is, to be honest with you, this really wasn't a Democrat Republican thing, or it really, quite frankly, was an oil thing. And if you go back even to the early 80s, these oil companies were buying up these electric patents for this stuff for years and years and years and years, and basically suppressing this technology to slow it down. And I think it's really a travesty when you see, quite frankly, what the cars can do. And I think there's a good middle ground here. And again, I wouldn't be a proponent, at least at this point, to say, I'd want to go all electric because I don't want to have to plug the thing in. I like the hybrid. I saw a guy for the first time sitting at our local grocery store, middle of Iowa, and I haven't seen it yet, but they put in those electric pumps, and they sit there, and then they're in the corner, and they've been there a year. I haven't seen one person use it. And then I saw a guy that was using it the other day. And for whatever reason, he sat there. I went to the grocery store, and I was there, half hour, 45 minutes, getting my, food for the week or whatever. Mm-hmm. He sat there for 45 minutes charging his car. I'm not doing that. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do. He didn't go in there, at least in the time that I was there.
Sure. Was he playing video games? Was it a Tesla where he can play video games?
No, he was on his phone. Okay. He was sitting on the hood of his car, and he was there for 45. I don't know if he was getting a suntan or what he was doing, but I thought, I'm not going to drive up to Hy-Vee and spend 45 minutes up there.
Well, see, the key is to put these into your house, to install these plugs into your garage, and then with the Lightning, the biggest selling point is you can purchase electricity at the non-peak hours, so you can buy the electricity cheap, and then during the peak hours you can actually reverse the charge and power your house off of your pickup during those expensive peak hours. So you actually save money that way in addition.
I think what I was thinking about the plugins, I just happened to look down at my phone for the moment. I thought, I think eventually what will happen, if they can get to it, is some sort of wireless charging, and then it'd go away. Like if I had to park my car over like a little mat.
So you've got this pad, you've got this anchor pad, and you charge your phone. Why not put this in your driveway?
Right.
And just have your car pull over top of this thing.
Pull over top of it and be done with it. And then I don't have to worry about it. And then that kind of takes it away from it, right? And so then honestly, you're not sitting there with the plugs and stuff like. I think it'll probably happen at some point.
At some point, these are very inefficient right now. The phones, they can only charge at I think 15 watts at the top of the line.
I'll say this: I do have a wireless charger in that F-150, and I've used them a couple times. And to be honest, they are just flat out garbage.
They're slow.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, they are just like you said. The wattages are so slow on it. I mean, it's barely. I would say the only purpose of it is to honestly keep your phone from dying.
And it's a feature that they want on the Windows sticker so that people think, oh, cool, it's got the latest tech.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
It's nice to have until you use it. And then, I'm sitting there using it, and I'm going, I had it on there. I think I drove about 60 miles, and I don't know. I think it was maybe down to 15% on my phone or something. And I threw it on there, and I went up for, about an hour. And as comparison to, I would say, the high-speed USB, if you will, I was only from 15% to, say, 16% within the hour. And I went, what is this?
And does it have Apple CarPlay also where
it does, and I hate Apple CarPlay. I absolutely think it sucks, and everybody out there loves it. I'm sorry, but you know what? It is the biggest piece of crap garbage. I can't stand it. And let me tell you something else about these Fords that what's going on right now is you get out there and nobody knows the tech about this thing. This is a phenomenal screw up by Ford. I can't believe they've blown it this bad. Is you have Cirrus in this car, and it used to be you can get Cirrus Travel Link, which meant you can get live traffic and you can get live weather. They have now broken that apart. So Ford is doing their own thing. And there's a subscription plan that nobody really knows about. Nobody really knows how to get. So I can't get my weather and traffic anymore through Cirrus because Ford won't allow that. And Ford doesn't know how to start my subscription to them to get it. And it's total. I mean, so for whatever reason, this just blows my mind. I've called about 4 people. I get sent over to Ford Marketing National, who that's where they've decided to let this thing sit, to somehow activate. And now they're looking into it under some service ticket that they're, I know that I'm never going to hear back from. So I have no idea how to activate my traffic and weather on the car. I mean, it's
you know what you need to do? You need to go to the Enterprise rent-a-car place because when we rented that Expedition, we checked the one thing. That was one extra thing that we got because we were going to California, and it was all automatic, and it worked perfectly, flawlessly.
One of the problems that I have with the Ford and the way the CarPlay works is they have the navigation system, the CarPlay. But my biggest problem with the CarPlay is, they have that 12-inch. I don't want everybody in my car to see my text messages and my everything coming in there. And yes, I know. I can hear people saying, I know there's a way to shut it off from a privacy standpoint. Yeah. But the problem is you still see the big, even with a privacy setting on, you still see who calls and who sent you a text message.
Correct.
You still see the name. Yes, you don't see the message and you don't hear the message, but I don't want any of that coming through on my CarPlay.
So what you do is you have a blindfold on the seat of every passenger seat in your truck, and when people get in, you tell them to apply this blindfold to their face.
It's going back to that, why is, if you have Apple CarPlay, and if you're going to use Apple CarPlay, why is Ford still putting in navigation into their cars? I mean, that's probably an extra $5,000 that you don't need if you're running Apple CarPlay, especially if now they've literally broken them out.
True.
I mean, that makes no sense to me. I mean, literally you're blowing about $5,000 for the extra navigation that you're not going to need, which I can't even use right now because Ford can't figure out how to link whatever they're doing. Now, I hear the theory behind this, and I found this on one of the F-150 boards deep somewhere under the web, was the link, the Cirrus link to the Ford was slow, which it was. So whatever reason they came around to using their own technology was to do it faster, but here's the hook. It's you're not allowed to look at the weather or traffic because that's when you're driving. So it's only updated when you stop. So that's so you're only updated to your point of last stop. But if you're not supposed to be looking at the screen, but yet we'll put the radio and we'll put the navigation and we'll put your phone and we'll put everything. We'll put literally everything else on there except this because you can't look at this. Okay. Makes perfect sense, Ford. Thank you.
Why don't they simply have the weather, the radar overlay on the map that's already there?
You would think. One would think. And that's the other point of aggravation is I think they're probably moving in that direction because one of the changes they made inside of, I would say, the screen selection was nothing intuitively makes sense where anything should be. That's always, so here's
you have to wonder who's designing these.
Oh my God. Exactly. And I tell you who it is. It's always the engineers. Yeah. And the engineers design and you know what you need to do is get the engineers away from the UI design, because every time I've done this with one of my companies and I let an engineer design it, I go, what the hell is this garbage? Not only do you not know how to make a screen, it's not even remotely intuitive. So weather, for whatever reason, is supposed to be on a separate screen, but they've buried it inside a navigation selection. So I have to go 2 levels in
while you're driving.
Into my navigation, which I'm not supposed to be looking at in the first place, but it's buried in there.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But other than that, you like the truck.
Yeah, I mean, how can you get so much right and then blow so much little, it's sort of like, they had it sort of close on the last couple, and it was like, why did you just take 4 steps back? And the other thing that I know that drives a lot of people nuts is this auto stop and start feature that has been mandated.
I turned that off.
I
got
the
first button I pushed.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I bought this, and I absolutely recommend it. It's called the Auto Eliminator. Put it in your, and I think it just reverses the signal. And so, in other words, it is auto off versus auto on when you turn on your car. And it's just basically a little plug-in that you put in there, and you don't have to push the damn button all the time.
Oh, that's nice. Do you like the lane assist?
I shut it off completely.
You shut that off?
I do. I think it's dangerous as shit.
We were driving up Pikes Peak. 14,000 feet in the air, and I had this expedition that thought it could see the lanes better than me, and I'm looking down thousands of feet off of this cliff, and I'm thinking, do I really want to trust the engineers and the computer in this expedition to keep us on the road?
Yeah,
so I turned that off, and yeah.
And the problem that I have with it is when you leave it on, it just jerks,
It does.
And
yeah.
I don't
it scares the crap out of you if you're not used to it.
And I don't know if yours had this, but you're supposed to be able to, this thing is supposed to, if I keep my hands on the wheel, which is still frustrating, right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be able to drive itself.
Yes.
Yeah. You do it, and you're like a pinball between the 2 lanes. It'll drift, and then it hits that lane, and then it drifts, and then it hits that lane, and drifts. So honestly, if you were to ever use it, it's so unfunctional.
You're going to get pulled over.
You're going to get pulled over driver.
Yeah.
I thought this is the dumbest. This doesn't even work right.
It does change lanes. It does do all that kind of cool stuff, but it still drifts a lot and isn't 100% reliable.
No, and again, I mean, I suppose you got to start somewhere, but. To release something like this,
and Tesla's so far is light years ahead of it. I mean, you don't even have to. Tesla's just drive itself.
Right, well, it must be
because straight.
I sat there and I go, if Tesla's there, and I hear people literally falling asleep behind the car.
Yeah, in the back seat. That's the new thing is they go in the back seat while the car's driving itself down the highway.
Well, I can tell you this: you sure as hell wouldn't want to do this in the Ford. I would.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't even trust it to
No.
drive. You're going to get pulled over for drinking.
Yeah, it's exciting. All right, hey, let's take a break quick, and we'll be back with all kinds of other interesting conversations. We'll be back.
Welcome back to FatHead. I think we've exhausted the Ford F-150 and Monty killing himself on F-150s. But
on Pikes Peak. Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo, this is a story that just continues and continues and continues, and it has legs. And one of the things that I find interesting about it is the fact that, once again, that Democrats believe that the law doesn't apply to them. They're above everything. And the media has done everything they can to protect this guy. They can't get out of it. And at this point, the final nail in his coffin was his assistant, his personal assistant for, I think, 2 years, finally resigned, and not only resigned, turned around in almost within 24-hour fashion, turned a resignation and did a CBS interview. And I'm telling you what, that I'm not sure with the AG coming out saying, I believe it was 9 people that were against it. And now...
Don't you think it was Biden that was really the nail in the coffin? I mean, when the president of the United States says, and he was a close personal friend.
I would have thought so, but you know what? The media, you didn't see it everywhere, right? You didn't see it. Like, honestly, if you weren't really watching, or paying attention, I really saw it nowhere. I mean, I heard it in past mention, but I think the nail in the coffin was this CBS interview and his personal secretary. And at this point, there's just too much evidence. And I think one of the sickening things about this is the fact, this isn't good, but it's not like, yes, it was obviously there was issues, but it's funny to me that basically him just calling a bunch of people babes and maybe doing some things that were inappropriate is the thing that's going to break him down, not the whole COVID thing where I'm going to put people with COVID in nursing homes where he literally killed thousands of people, and the media covered it up, said what a great job he was doing, gave him a damn Emmy for it. That's not the thing that's going to bring him down.
Yeah.
It's calling some girls babes and doing some inappropriate things around the office. That's the thing. Just me, I think if you kill somebody, a little bit more serious than saying, hey, you look good today in the office.
So that brings up a point, and I was in a clubhouse room earlier today and talked to a bunch of women in photography, and we were talking about, what are you allowed to say to women now in the office? Are you allowed to even say, you look fantastic today?
I don't in my office. I don't say anything about any personal looks.
I like your hair.
I don't say anything.
I mean, you can't compliment a woman in today's
No, and
today's
you know
office.
what the flip side is everybody thinks you're a jerk.
Yes.
And they do. They're like, well, Jason, you don't ever say anything. You come into the office and everything's always about work. Well, unfortunately, that's the way that the woke movement has brought this whole thing. You can't say to anybody, you look nice today. You can't giving a girl I'm a 45-year-old single male that owns his own company. I can't. That's the kiss of death. If I say you look good, I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done.
You're done. You can't even ask anybody out on a date. You can't ask somebody to go out to drink for a drink or anything like that.
Well, you sure as hell wouldn't do it in a work environment. I can tell you that.
No.
I mean, that would get you done and done.
Cuomo'd.
Yeah.
We'll call it Cuomo'd for now.
Oh yeah. There's a. Yeah.
That's a ring to it.
Is that the new Cuomo-sexual? You got Cuomo'd. I got Cuomo'd. But yeah, no, I would never. I'd never even fathom that now. I mean, and forget all the ownership and everything else that goes along with it. I would never, in any company at any level, entry level or executive level, with or without ownership, ask anybody out inside the workplace, because I know HR would come in and they'd probably terminate you.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. So then, a politician, being a leader of a state of New York, for example, should really be held to the same standard. Wouldn't you think?
Not if you're Democrat. I mean, listen, honestly, it's just I'm so tired of this. We all know it. So let's just stop. There's two rules. There's one for Democrats and there's one for Republicans. It's just whether we like it or not. Until we start holding these guys to standard. And it's funny because I don't think the only way that he's going to get out of office is if he really, really believes that the New York legislature is going to impeach him. Otherwise, this guy isn't going anywhere. He really believes that, what he did was just fine. And, to a certain extent, I think the guy was probably a complete ass to work for.
From the sounds of the interviews, yeah.
But let's be honest. I think there's a lot of old school Democrats. They're complete asses to work for. Okay, that's one thing. I'm not sure, and again, correct me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
But take those guys that are probably 65, 70ish, somewhere in there.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
For the most part, even look at how Biden, it was acceptable for those guys to kind of throw their arm around, hey, nice job. I sort of, in a way, go, again, you got to pay attention to what's going on. But, he was only doing what he has done, quite frankly, for the last 40 years. I'm not saying
that's true. Times have changed.
Times have changed on how
he just didn't change along with the times.
And again, if you're in politics, I think it really, to be honest with you, as a male, I think it makes it incredibly difficult, especially in a political arena, to hire females to work around me, because I honestly do not know at this point.
Unless you're Mayor Pete.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how do you, they're getting to the point where they're making it so difficult that anything you say or do, you're done. And so how do you, you want this diversity, and, obviously you'd want, female input and female on the staff.
Absolutely.
But I would say this, if you're, look at Cuomo's, assistant's been there 2 years. I mean, really think about this. I mean, the guy was an ass to work for, but she wasn't going anywhere. I mean, that if you're a Democrat working for a Democrat, I mean, for him to chase her out, you really got to do some bad stuff to a point where it just broke her down.
That brings up one more point, and this is going to be not popular with some people, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah, are we going to get banned now?
We're not going to get banned, but we might get some females feedback that that we don't really want. So here's my question, and I don't know because I'm not a woman. I don't dress as a woman. But
not all opinions reflect everything.
But my question is, do women have some responsibility? And I don't know the answer to this. Do they have some responsibility to dress conservatively, to not
Oh God.
to not bring themselves to the attention of the Andrew Cuomos of the world?
No.
I'm just saying.
This is all on you. No.
I'm just saying that
you better clarify this, that you have daughters now.
I do have a wife and a daughter.
Here's the problem with this, because
I'm going to be crucified now. I'm sure.
Well, I think to a certain point you probably should be. I mean, that's sort of like saying, listen, if you get raped, it's because of what you wore.
No. So way different thing. I
want to say, listen,
it's no different than when my daughter gets ready to go out on a date, and she's wearing spandex shorts or whatever.
Get me out of this.
It's like
okay, here's what I think you're trying to go for, because I think this can be really misinterpreted really easy. I think what you're trying to say is, do women have any type of culpability inside the office place when something like this happens? And the answer to that is maybe, maybe not, depending on the situation, right? So
correct.
If it's obviously completely unwanted, blatant, and the guy's being an ass and he's grabbing you and, it's over the top, the answer to that would be no. Of course she doesn't have any responsibility to that. However, what if she's flirting with him? And,
correct.
There's a little flirtation back and, everything.
What if
here's the thing. I think, look at it from, this is a hard thing because we live in this woke society that people can't live in a normal office environment. I think what happens in most 90% of the cases out there, that there's probably a little bit of flirting going on where it's just kind of cute and innocent, and then one day the guy takes it one step, one comment too far,
and he probably regrets it instantly, and probably realizes it instantly.
It was a mistake, and so I just think it's there's probably a little bit in that case. Yeah, there's a little bit of like.
Let me ask you this: when you go into the office every day or at all, do you have your shirt unbuttoned halfway down so people can see your cleavage? No, you're a man. You don't really have cleavage. But my question is do you dress provocatively so that the women in your office?
What is your? I'm not going here. I'm telling you, this is a bad place for even you to be going. What you're saying is, women can be responsible.
I'm being real.
What you're saying is, or what you're trying to say is, if you dress slutty, are you now responsible for what happens to you?
I didn't say slutty. I didn't say slutty. Revealing. If you're dressing very revealingly.
My answer to that is no. I honestly, I don't think. Listen, I think you should wear what you want to wear to. Listen, outside.
Okay, I'm going in spandex then. I'm going to go come to work in spandex. Is that going to be a problem?
So here's the
in my case. Maybe
okay,
not,
so here's what I'm seeing a lot of now lately, and I saw this down in the Lake of the Ozarks, and it's maybe it's been everywhere else in the world, but what I'm seeing now is girls are wearing pasties to most pools. It was happening I'm not even kidding. It's almost like, and I was like, okay, technically, that's what they're doing now. And I'm like, well, I honestly was standing, the first time I saw it, there was a girl that came through, and I was with my, I suppose I can call her my girlfriend.
Okay.
I don't know if she'll publicly shoot me for that.
News, yes.
But we were standing there, and I go, holy crap, this girl just walked by me, and she has duct tape on her nipples. That's it. And I'm going, and I looked at her, and she goes, that's not duct tape. And I go, that's duct tape. Like, I know duct tape when I see, the one thing that I know, I go, that's duct tape on her nipples.
Okay.
And she turns around and she goes, oh my God, she has duct tape on her nipples. And, we've seen this here in, Pella, Iowa. Had a national thing.
Yeah.
Came, the two transgenders. I think we talked about that a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, at the public pool.
I don't want to see. Listen, I don't want to put it. It's certainly. The problem is you get to, you get into, what if they're wearing a crop top, right? And, most crop tops in Florida are pretty acceptable, and they've got, half of their, stomachs are up.
Why are we so uncomfortable? Why are we so uncomfortable having this discussion? Why are we not allowed to openly have a discussion about whether women can dress too provocatively in a public place?
Well, for us, we're too much of a firebrand that could get canceled at any point. So, I mean, that's really what it is, and that's why so many people.
It's fear.
It is. I mean, here's the
silence
thing.
out of fear.
Yeah. And that's what they've done.
They're
suppressing.
That's the
honestly,
problem.
they're suppressing free speech, and they've been doing this for a while.
That's the problem. I'm not going to let somebody suppress my free speech. Now, I understand you're in a little bit of a different position because you run a company. I don't.
Well,
I'm self-employed.
You suppress. Here's the thing. You come out and you suppress this, and you say, listen, cancel culture is really a thing, and you could be done at any point. And I think you just have to be very mindful. I think you and I can do it better than a lot of than most people can, because we've been around the game. We've done radio and TV.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can make some really wrong comments and go wrong. So I think you have to be very clear on what you're stating.
So I am going to clarify this. I'm not saying that is one way or another. I'm not saying that women can or can't. I'm just saying that I think it's prudent that we be able to have the discussion without the fear of reprisal.
I think that's fair. I think you have to phrase your question, though, very pointedly, because, my question to you is, okay, I see what you're saying, but are you saying that by the way you dress, man or woman,
mm-hmm.
Are you responsible for unwanted attention that you might get because of the way that you dress?
Not necessarily hitting on you, not necessarily attention, meaning they're going to say inappropriate things. I mean, I'm just saying people are going to give a second look. People are going to maybe stare at you, whatever it may be.
Well, let's take it towards the male section a little bit, right? So I go to the gym. I like to work out, and I might wear a little tighter shirt, right? I might buy a size smaller, right? I want to look good, right?
Me too.
as what you would get from most people that are going to take shots at you, would be like, oh, you're a meathead, you're a dumb jock, look at that jackass, he's trying to show off. So it comes from the male side of it, from males to males. It comes from that aspect of it too, right? So I chose, I know that I'm going to get that, right? You do. You go out. Let me tell you, you go out to a bar. You could be at the wrong place at the wrong time at a country bar, and some girl thinks you look good because you wore a little tighter shirt, and her joint boyfriend gets jealous, and all of a sudden you're in a fight. I mean, how many times have we seen that thing?
But you accept the fact that women might look at you and be, interested because of the way you look and because of the way you dress.
I'm trying to flip this back on men. Yeah, because obviously, So my other choice is, I could wear a dress shirt untucked, and it could hide all this, and
mm-hmm.
I could look, like I was 400 pounds.
Sure.
And, I could hide it. And I know women have to deal with this more than men. What is that line?
Well, because men are visual,
right.
Much more visual than women.
And I think it's always a struggle for women to decide what is appropriate and what is not so appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now lines have gotten so blurred that maybe it can be crossed a hell of a lot quicker, I think, with women.
I think so. Well, I think men generally can be pigs.
Well, and I think
men are pigs.
And I think, and that's almost where I was going to go with that comment, was the fact that, women have to probably get up and think about this because men are pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And,
they would go. You aren't going to change the DNA, the necessarily the instincts of men overnight. It's just not going to happen.
This is where you get into the whole, pussy hat movement, where, the feminists come out and say, you know what, it's because of men
mm-hmm.
that we have to think like this. Well, okay.
Maybe so.
I guess it goes back to your original comment that you made earlier for clarification.
Wow, you didn't know I was going to go in this direction, did you?
No, I always wonder. We're sitting there talking about Cuomo. I always wonder what's going to bring us down. It's like you go out and kill thousands and thousands of people and do something really stupid like put COVID people in nursing homes,
yep.
even when you know that you're not supposed to do that. But that's not the thing that brought you down. I always wonder what is going to be that's going to bring us down. And it's probably going to be something really, really dumb.
All right, so one more thing for the week. I'm a big Clubhouse guy. I'm big into Clubhouse. We talked about doing a live podcast on Clubhouse and maybe letting people talk to us at the same time. And I think we haven't decided that yet, whether we're going to do that or not. But I think it's important that we hear from you guys. I want to hear from our audience. I want to hear from my Clubhouse followers. And I want to know if you think that would be a valuable thing for our podcast to be on Clubhouse and to hear from the group.
Yeah, I think we talked about it before. I think the only how to control everybody talking from once could be the only issue that we have. But
yeah, well, we could be moderators and we can mute people that talk over us.
Listen, I'm all for trying anything once. So
okay. So that's the question I want to ask you guys. Answer us in the comments. Send us messages. Send us a voicemail. You can do that on Anchor, and let us know what you think of that idea.
Why don't you go ahead and walk us out on that?
All right, so this has been FatHead for this week, and thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.